and we are transitioning to our CEO roundtable, and I'll start one. We have Warren Zena,
Hi.
founder of the CRO Collective, who's no stranger to the community and author of What CROs Actually Do. What a roundtable. We're going to be talking about Agentic GTM methodology. Welcome back to the show, Warren. What's the latest and greatest, and what's in your Agentic OS?
Well, lots going on. The CRO world is topsy-turvy with all the stuff we're going to talk about today. But I appreciate you having me here and this great panel. We had a really great sort of prep call. So I'm looking forward to this. I'll jump right in, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
Oh, great. So first of all, everyone, thanks for being here. I'm Warren Zinn. I'm the founder of the CRO Collective. For the past 6 years or so, I've been advising chief revenue officers and founders. And as you can appreciate, in the last year, the only thing anybody wants to talk about is AI, particularly talking about revenue agents and revenue tech. It's just, and we have to tell everybody here how huge it is. I think the interesting thing, though, is I'm seeing that people are deploying things like SDR agents and chatbots and intent tools and intent intelligence deal platforms. But, it's sort of no longer an experiment. It's really here now. But I think what doesn't exist, though, is a method. And it's just not just a process problem. It's really a definition problem. So we had a great call. We talked about this, every one of us. And we talked about what's the way in which these agents actually work? How independent can they be? And what are they? So I'm going to introduce the people. We have this great panel. So we have Stav Levy, Alta CEO and founder, Max Greenwald from Warmly AI, CEO of that company, Sridhar Pedeni, go-to-market buddy, Steve Davis, CEO of Bavardi, and Rashid Kataria from Centralized, CEO and founder. So why don't you guys introduce each other, just briefly give a little overview of what you do, and this way we can let you all speak a bit more intelligently about what you guys are up to.
Cool.
All right, I'll jump
I'll
in.
start. Why don't you go
Steve
start?
Davis, CEO of Proverity. Proverity offers a pre-sales platform to automate proof of concepts and help you increase your technical win rate. Utilizing AI, and we're an AI native platform, which we're going to talk about, I'm sure, in spades today. Stav?
Yes. Oh, hi, I'm Stav, co-founder and CEO of Alta. Alta is an AI go-to-market system that helps over 200 businesses to find, engage, win the right customers. We do it through three AI agents, an AI SDR, an AI inbound and calling agent, and an AI RevOps layer, all built on one intelligence layer. The system connects to over 50 data sources like CRM, product data, using omni-channel like SMS, WhatsApp, LinkedIn calls, and all end-to-end go-to-market flow, closed loop, measured by outcome and ROI.
Great. Okay, why don't you go next, Max?
Hey everyone, Max, founder and CEO of Warmly. Warmly.ai is an autonomous revenue agent that basically warms up your TAM. So we understand who is in market to buy at any given time with our intent signals. And then we outbound to them via ads, email, LinkedIn, and chat. And then we drive them to your website where we close them with our inbound SDR agent that kind of forms almost like a digital twin of yourself on your website to help you book more meetings.
Thanks. And Rashid, why don't you go next?
Yeah, some familiar faces here. Nice to see you again, Warren and Stav and a few others.
You too, Rashid.
Ratchet. Yeah, I'm Ratchet, co-founder, CEO of Centralize. You can think of us as relationship intelligence for enterprise revenue teams. So think of us as agents that automatically build relationship maps and show you who you know, who you're missing, and how to get there. Basically helping you operationalize multi-threading and arguably almost navigating the most important asset in your deals, which is people. We're the
Yeah.
placemat to do it, and almost like a ways, if you will, turn by turn of where to go next and who to get to ultimately get the path to sign done.
Excellent. And Sridhar, why don't you go next?
Hi everyone, Sridhar Pedineni, co-founder and CEO of GTM Buddy. We are a revenue activation platform that activates and reps in their daily workflows, activating the training and content that's created by enablement teams. We also extend that further by providing an AI teammate that helps with many jobs to be done in the revenue workflows.
Okay, great. So as you can see, we sort of have like a full like funnel represented here, which is intentional. So we can talk about how this all affects everything. So I have a kind of a lightning round question I'd like to start with, and that is, if someone came to you today and said, Define an agent. What would your definition be? Let me start with you, Ratchet.
Yeah, it's an interesting framing where it's like there's a lot of AI native companies and agents versus being AI. It's kind of it's unique. I think our take on this is very much an agent tells you what to do next without being asked. That's really the baseline of it. It knows how to interpret context that humans are unable to do at scale and give you the right next best action, if you will, or an action to take on your behalf or an insight that you wouldn't have otherwise had, unless you'd spent maybe an inordinate amount of hours or maybe just untenable altogether to do. But TLDR tell you something to do that you didn't have to ask it to do.
Okay. Stav, what do you think? What's an agent?
So there is like the more kind of a technical definition that maybe I will take in the definition part. Basically, an agent that it's something that have a goal, and it have the goal is like the system prompt. It have skills and tools, which is like keys to certain places, API, and things you be able to do. It have memory and context and files. There are type of memories, but memory, and it have an engine like brain, which is the model that it runs, and all built to deliver some outcome. So it's not, it can be very simple or very complex, but the goal is to deliver an outcome.
Okay. Max, what do you think? What's an agent?
I think it's an undercover spy that helps governments foil plots of terrorists.
All right, great. Well, we figured it out. So great. Congratulations. Okay. It's Steve. What do you think? What's an agent?
Yeah, anything that is proactive and autonomous, right? That's how I always think of an agent. If it's proactively thinking for me, it's doing something for me without me having to interact in it, proactive and autonomous, that's agentic.
Okay, great. And Sridhar, what do you say?
Great question. I'll start off by saying what I think agent is not. A lot of people talk about creation of a custom JPT or a chatbot of some sorts, where I ask a question and I get an answer. They would call that an agent. Think of McKinsey's 30,000 agents working as part of their workforce. With that out of the way, I think of agent as a, a, a software program of some sorts that activates upon a trigger. A trigger it could be an event in your CRM, could be somebody filled out a form. There's an event of some sorts. It triggers and it accepts inputs. Inputs can be structured or non-structured. It knows that what it is supposed to do, what's the goal of the agent. It is able to reason about it, creates an action plan, and goes out and enhances that inputs that it has gotten, and then executes its plan of action and ends its flow by performing an action. An action can be updating your CRM, creating a document for you, or it could be handing off that output to the next agent in the workflow.
Got it. Okay, great. Steve, I recall in our initial dialogue we had, you said something like, if it's not continuously learning or autonomously acting, then it's not an agent, right? So it's more like a process, actually, more than just like a question and answer type thing, which I tend to agree. Well, walk us through where your company draws that line. Like, what does an actual agent do in a pre-sales workflow versus what's just an automation? How do you make that distinction?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think when we look at it, the agent where it starts and stops, again, it's continuously learning, it's getting more intelligent, but it's very focused on automating mundane tasks, right? So, and I think about what an SE, a sales engineer, is doing. If they're spending 70% of their time updating Excel, taking Slack information, putting it back into notes, those are mundane tasks, adding no strategy or no strategic value. That's where we kind of start and stop with it, but it's intelligently learning. So it's learning how you interact with all the data and where you want to put, and then what the next step should be. But where it stops is when there's strategic thinking needed. I want the SC working on a multi-million-dollar deal to be very highly involved in making those decisions. So I'm very much on the philosophy of it's AI with human in the loop. I am not all about replacing humans, especially not yet, but that's my start and stop. So really focus on the mundane tasks and manual parts of your job and then stop at that. I need a strategic thinking decision here. That's where the human comes in.
Gotcha. So Stav, your agents, Katie and Alex and Luna, they're transparent without being AI. Kind of in a world where everyone's debating what is an agent, how does transparency about AI identity change the conversation? It's like you said, you need to redesign the data foundation before deploying agents. So how do you know when the data is ready?
So there is like maybe two part of this question.
Yeah.
I will start with the transparency part. So first of all, it is a decision of our customer if they want to be totally transparent or not. We, as someone that give also service to our customers, for specific agents like calling agents, we recommend to be very transparent on it and to find the right use cases on it. So I think it's a lot about like AI transformation in these days and to understand what agent can actually deliver value. And there is like maybe three types of way to deliver value. So one is like replacing something that a human being would do. And this is like maybe on the inbound SDRs examples for customers that have a lot of leads that are coming to their website and they need to take care of those leads. And in those cases, there is no reason not to be transparent about using an AI because first of all, there is like a very big advantage for the AI over there that you can talk with them and understand all the questions you have, and it can talk with any language and transform to any language you prefer to talk with, and it's also available 24/7. So there is no reason not to be transparent about it, and it can deliver value. So this is the first type, like the one that replaces. There is the one that empowers. So it's a more like kind of a co-pilot, and it's empower salespeople, also SDR, and this is more of the messaging part. So like to help people, reps write better messaging and in the right time, in the right audience, and there it's not acting as AI, it's acting as the rep, but the rep is reviewing it and approving it. So there, by the way, the data doesn't have to be like it, we can take a bit more risks over there in order to make better outcomes. And the third part is more kind of AI that inventing new roles, right? So it's replacing, augmenting, or inventing new strategies that wasn't exist before. And over there, it's an experiment land of low risk, high value tests that we're doing with companies. And so yeah, this is the third part. About the data infrastructure, it's a whole other subject, but I think
Mhm.
that there is no part of the AI transformation is to understand which data and knowledge we can prepare in order for the agent to use and make good and better go-to-market flows. And it's really depends on the type of the company, depends on the type of the risk they are willing to take, depends on a lot of different things on the go-to-market it's not one size fit all in this, and it is require service as part of really embed this data into the go-to-market agents.
Well, that's interesting. Good segue because in the conversation we had, nobody was arguing about full autonomy as the goal. Instead, really everyone kept coming back to value. Sridhar, you actually even mentioned very clearly that, more autonomy doesn't necessarily translate to more value. And Steve, you were really clear about enterprise deals. Like humans make the strategic decisions and handle the agents do the busy work, right?
Yep.
But I would say, like, if we could dig into autonomy isn't the goal and value is, then how do you decide where autonomy creates value and where it creates risk? Because I think this is risky right now, what we're doing, and it's fine. But how do you manage between pushing autonomy to the point? I'm already in the situation. I'm using autonomous tools, particularly around just scheduling, and I see it makes mistakes that have implications for my clients, and I'm really angry about it. But I took that risk because I deployed this thing into my system and I've let it run, and I'm sort of in a way a beta user for a lot of things right now. I have a small company, so maybe the risk is less, but I mean, someone like Steve, maybe Rachit, what what is it that you guys do to determine how far you're going to push these things, and where's the risk calculus for you guys? I'm curious. Rachit,
I
why don't
have
you go?
yeah, I can jump in really quick on this. To Sav's point, I think it depends on the customer's risk here. Like, what's the workflow that you're fitting into? I think Steve, you talked about enterprise, and that is arguably the highest risk area. Where if you're burning relationships, you're potentially burning six, seven-figure dollar deals that you can't afford to mess up. And I think there's a
That's right.
big there's like, it's like you're almost like I think the industry is over-indexing on this idea that agents have to be end-to-end autonomous. Like that's not actually, I think, the reality. It should be more, where is the judgment of the agent creating leverage that wouldn't be possible prior? And then how are you showing up with that leverage in the day-to-day? I mean, for us, like our customers are literally the highest risk ones. We sell to enterprise revenue teams. And so you cannot be out here blasting TAMs with AI SDRs. You should not be using those, I think, in that world. It's all about strategically throwing darts and creating that right messaging. So I think it's a question of what is the workflow that you're automating and how quickly can you do something that wasn't feasible prior. I mean, if I can share our workflow, it's the thing that
Mhm.
you'd ask every rep to do in a QBR. It's making that amazing org chart that is who reports to who has influence, who has power, that goes stale in a week. The second someone leaves that company, it becomes shelfware. No one looks at that thing ever again. Everyone pretends to be strategic for that day and then goes back to just like folklore of asking people questions. But if it were a living, breathing picture, that agents can actually do for you in a world that AA just frankly shouldn't, or SDR shouldn't, then all of a sudden you have leverage to act strategically. And the risk is not, hey, I'm going to go send a message to 50 people at this company and burn them. It's you're giving a place of work almost like this place of strategy you can work off of that you'd never would even got into as a baseline if an agent wasn't working behind the scenes for you. So that's our version of like, where do we stop? It's, hey, let's get you the last mile, but you're putting the puzzle pieces together because that is the whole job of humans kind of in the world that we're heading towards, as opposed to let's just send everything for you on your behalf and it's like all automated all 24/7. That's kind of our take. But again, to Stav's point, it's based on how much risk you're willing to take. And I think we can push it as far as we can, but the humans, we exist for a reason and go to market. I think it's to orchestrate the relationships, and that's kind of like as close as you can get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Warren, I'll jump in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, please.
Something that we kind of put a really hard line on. You talk about risk. There's internal risk collecting data. If you mess up, it's okay. Like you got to learn from it. You're going to get smarter. Data that is going to your prospect is high risk. And that's where we're really careful because if we have a multi-million dollar deal and we're running a proof of concept and we screw up and send bad data to the prospect, that can risk the entire deal. So right now we probably err on the side of caution. We throw caution to the wind, like anything internal data, try it. Like let's see what comes back if there's hallucinations, if there's intelligence. Like let's test that out. Before any of that data gets pushed out to your end prospect, we're much more careful about that right now. Now we'll get to a point where I'm sure all of us will have these amazing agents that may make no mistakes. But for right now, that's how we look at it. It's we're willing to take and push the boundaries, take a lot of risk, push the boundaries on internal process and data. Anything going to your end customer or prospect, it's much more high risk and we're much more careful about.
Yeah, adding my perspective to
Okay,
this, I think the
please.
question of autonomy is a decision that, the way we think about it, it's a decision that our customers should be able to take. We don't decide for them. Let me talk about it with two concrete examples of workflows, agentic workflows that we're talking about. So, problem statement. Um, a lot of customers that we serve, they invest millions of dollars in creating training content for their GTM teams. They invest a lot of money in creating these programs and get the reps to enroll and follow up whether they have taken the courses and so on, right? And there's this ongoing struggle about, hey, my managers are not coaching the reps the way we expect them to. This is the business problem statement. Now, with an agentic workflow, what we're able to do today, you could do it with my product or you could instrument it outside, but it's possible today that I could look at a rep's performance over the past quarter, past month, past week, whatever the case may be. Look at all the conversations that the rep has had. Pull out those call transcripts. Get my organization's competency framework and compare notes. assess the rep's performance with objective data. Now identify what is rep doing well. AI identifies that based on this competency framework that you have given me, rep is doing this well, and these are areas for improvement. Now we have a decision to make. It's actually a fork. I could notify the skill gap analysis that was done to the manager, saying that, hey, manager, your teammate, you have a one-on-one this week. Here is the information that you can use to make more data-driven and objective coaching to your teammate. In addition, we can also identify from our training repository and content repository, identify the information that moves the needle for that particular individual. Now I have another choice to make. I can create the workflow in a way that go ahead and assign this training. AI assigns the training. Or I could say that, hey, AI identifies the training courses that a rep could take, and ask for the human in the loop. Do you want me to assign these courses? Whether AI assigns it or not is a choice, the way you define your workflow. And if you're
All
seeing
makes
that,
sense.
initially you do it manually, and if you're comfortable, it's nailing it each time, then you automate that process.
Got it. So it sounds like it's more like not so much about whether we want to do this, it's whether the discipline is there to make sure you understand how to navigate both the data and the operating. So I want to, if you don't mind, I'd like to bring this into like more like a framework here. So let's make this practical. Imagine there's a CRO in the audience right now, and they run a $50 million revenue organization, and they have AI tools deployed in like 3 or 4 places, let's say, like maybe, a couple of revenue tools, maybe some SDR based things and some listening platforms, et cetera, et cetera. And the CEO asks them, why isn't all of this AI translating into faster growth? So I'm just curious, each one of you, maybe Max, we'll start with you. What would your answer be? What's the operating discipline that they might be missing? Why they're not able to display or show how it's actually having revenue impact without selling your product?
And without knowing both their tech stack, their ICP, I'll keep it very general. I'd say when we find that our customers are coming to us saying we've tried to deploy some AI and it's sort of not obvious and that it's working, probably, well, I think 100% of our customers see productivity gains. I don't know if anyone feels differently with their customer base, but like any AI tool you implement should, in theory, have productivity gains internally. But we talked a little bit earlier about this sort of external world of getting it right place, right time, right message when it comes to prospects or getting external to the organization. And I think that the lack of productivity gains or the lack of successful AI implementation probably comes from needing to, again, I don't know the specific tools they implemented, but probably part of it is needing to review the results and iterate and have human in the loop verification of answers. An example might be if you use an AI chat to and upload all your like help center docs and then hope that it just answers questions perfectly to a prospect. You'll notice differences between how a human would respond and how the AI would respond. And you want to basically try to merge those things together over time through having some sort of adversarial testing or having, just the ability to like rinse and repeat 150 times. So I think that would drive more toward actual revenue impact. Trying to think of another example where, without getting to the specifics of that particular business organization, I mean, I guess the obvious one is just lack of alignment with your humans on like where we're deploying these things and how that flows in across the org. I think there's like a lot of entrenched human process that we as like leaders of organizations don't realize happen on the day to day. And so something I've advised like revenue leaders in the past is like, especially if you're remote, like you have to go physically in person and hang out with some of your SDRs and AEs and just watch them work for a day. And you'll be really surprised at like some of the habits they've developed and patterns that they have in order to get their job done. But from your vantage point, you're like, wait a minute, like I didn't realize like that's how an SDR uses sales nav effectively and creates a briefing for their AE. We could do this way faster. I put in this tool in place, but just because you put the tool in place doesn't mean you sort of trained everyone the right way.
Gotcha. Stav, what do you think? What
Double
might be going on?
double down on two of the things that Max said. Like one is test. Like I think that uh, the bigger we talked about risk before, the bigger risk is not to deploy and implement and scale using AI agents, and not like boost your performance. And I think that the second double down on what Max said is sit down with your SDR, with your AE for one day and watch what they are doing. And then you realize what is the risk that being taken when you're not finding those places, and go back a little bit more on the risk part. I think that part of our job when companies come to talk to us and think how they can do this transformation is to think with them where is the areas that they will allow AI to be more autonomous, in order to make those tests and in order to learn and to fail fast where is the risk is low, and in order to create learns that they will change their business and help them deliver more outcomes. So double down on the tests and listen and look at the reps in action.
Gotcha. Steve, what do you think? What does CRO need to do differently to demonstrate to his board and CEO that this is actually making a difference? You're on mute. You're on mute, Steve.
Dave, you're muted. You're muted.
It was such a good thing I said too.
Yeah, it's okay. My greatest hits are on mute.
I
So
mean,
it's okay.
that's my life. So I
have
was
an
going to say
entire mute tape. It's brilliant. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
probably have a different take on this a little bit as a former kind of 6-year CRO, now CEO. I
Mhm.
will be pretty brutal on salespeople and CROs and VP of sales and all this stuff. I want
Okay, great.
tangible data. Like what is getting me? I don't care as much about efficiency. I'm sorry. Like, what are you doing to get me to technical win faster? What are you doing to get me to increase my revenue and decrease my CAC? And so, and I'm, CRO of a $50 million company, I'm looking at every specific piece of data. That's how I determine what's working. I don't care if you need one agent, 5 agents. Is it helping me do one of my 3 metrics that I report to the board with, right? Everything else, you say, oh, but we saved 13 hours. So what? Did that 13 hours allow you to work on more proof of concepts that allowed you to close more technical wins? Okay, that's great. You saved some headcount, but did that saving headcount now just cost me in people to work on strategic deals? You really got to dig out in the covers of the data. And that's what I'm doing internally. Even our own tools we put in, I'm like, great. So it saved me a headcount. Was that worth it? What did that lead to? And I try to always bring back everything we're doing, agentic, process-wise, our own product for our own customers. What is it leading to? What is the goal? And for us, Proverity, it's get to technical win faster. So everything we put into our product should be helping our customers get to technical and faster. Tools I'm implementing at Proverity internally, I do the same thing. Look, we all report to a board, right? I've got my 3 big metrics I look at every day. And if we're not putting in process or agents to help me do that, all the bells and whistles I don't care about. And so I just look at it probably from that kind of standpoint of, oh, that's a cool tool. Yeah, that's fine. That's I don't have time. Like, that's great. I don't mean to sound flippant. There are a lot of cool tools out there. Does it help me achieve these 3 goals to run my business? That I look at everything that way.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. It's great. It sounds to me there needs to be some sort of attribution metric for AI that will be created that we like much like we tried to do in the ad tech space, right? Like, how do you know that advertising works? I mean, there's probably 1,000 attribution models that were created. None of them actually ended up working, but they tried. But I think it's an important thing to have some sort of benchmark around what is the attribution modeling for AI implementation. And I don't know, we're not there yet, right? And I agree with you. I don't know, productivity seems like it should, but I'm also noticing, and I'm sure you all are too, that what AI has done, aside from making things easier, is now 2 things happen. One is you work more. I mean, I'm in front of this crap all the time now because I can do so much of it. I find I'm actually working more, even though I might be getting more done. I'm working more. So the time sort of became, because I can work faster, and now I'm going to do more to get faster. And the second thing is the cost model is not the same because it's costing money to use these systems in different ways. The consumption model is a different model too. So there's other costs that leak out while you're using them. I think this is an interesting thing. But then that goes to the accountability side is who owns this, right? So if you have a revenue operation and you're putting out AI and you're running across the organization, is this a CEO led function? Is it a CRO led function? Is it a CTO led function? Or is there like a new, God forbid, like chief of AI function? I'm curious what you all think. Like, where's this sit? Because there needs to be, this has to sit somewhere. I have an answer. I'm just curious what you all think. I'm going to leave it open. Jump in.
So I'd like to take that. So many founders and other CEOs that I talk to, it's a repeating observation now that most of them are consuming information about AI and the possibilities secondhand. Hey, somebody in my team did this or did that. We have purchased 10 different AI tools and so on. It's almost like it feels like they're reading about swimming. They want to learn swimming, but they're reading about swimming. They're not actually getting out there in the pool and actually swimming.
Okay.
That seems to be a really, really big gap. And given that the transformation that we are living through is not like anything that we have ever seen in our lives. I'm an older guy. I've been on this planet for 5+ decades now, but the change that we are seeing right now, I have not seen this kind of a change before. And we can't treat it like, we'll pass through this as well. Leaders need to roll up their sleeves and understand the potential and needs to experience it. This kind of goes back into your previous question about, as a CRO, is CRO accountable for AI point solutions? And we bought X number of solutions and proved the accountability? Or is it org-wide leadership responsibility to understand the potential and how to deploy that? Buying a fancy new AI tool is not going to solve that. What are the workflows we are going to automate, improve, or create new possibilities? That level of understanding, the visceral understanding, comes through when you start experiencing it. And I feel that leadership is not doing enough of that. I'm generalizing it a bit, but
Okay.
it seems to be fairly consistent.
Gotcha. Stav, CRO, CTO, AI expert, who runs this damn thing?
So
Who's in
I'm going
charge?
to say, yeah, for me, for my company, it's a bit different from what I think it's going to be. We're like 40 people company, so maybe it's also a different stage for many of the companies that are our customers.
Think about maybe your clients, right? The
Yeah.
clients, the people you're dealing with, who's
Yeah.
responsible for what you're doing on their side.
So in the end, it's the person that owns the outcome. So I think CRO owns the outcome of the revenue department. So it needs to be under the CRO. But I think there is two different types of AI agents that being deployed in the company. So one is like a service that you buy, a system that is responsible for the outcome. So it's like actually you're using a service. And there is like building an AI agent internally. So for us, I have like a team of AI engineer that building AI agents internally for different departments and sits under me, like under the CEO, because we have the importance of the sharing knowledge between the team is more important, and the outcome for every department is still like the department is not huge, so it's still very contained. And the outcome of every department is really under my outcome anyway, so it's not that there is conflict of interest. So I think in smaller effort, if you have not a lot of building agent that you're building yourself, so it is good that it will sit under like I don't know, CEO, CRO, depends on what is the goal, but eventually, like I would expect our finance person to own the finance agents tool that he's using, and the CRO to own the go-to-market agents that he's deploying. So yeah.
Ratchet, what do you think? Who
Yeah,
owns
I like
this?
the ending point there on eventually every vertical should be the owner of their AI rollouts at the end of the day, unless you're big enough that you have a CIO and all tooling goes up to them. And then, it's more of like a broader decision. But I think maybe zooming back a little bit to something that we were talking about around the workflows. I think a lot of people think that agents are going to show up and just the fact that you have one is solving all your problems. Like you bought one, life's good. when in reality,
Oh,
um,
it's not?
you'd think so. I mean, life would be very nice, but it's like everyone jokes about this, right? Like sellers are lazy because there's just so much to do. You have like so much you have to get done. You like intentionally just want to be at the point of value as fast as you can. And I think in our cases, like the best customers we have, it's not just the CRO. I don't even mention this yet. It's like RevOps are the unsung heroes in the corner here that are getting bombarded with like 50 tools a day and have no clue what to make of the world that's happening and evolving underneath them. Don't know if they should invest right now and the world's going to be better in 2 years. So why even make a bet today if like the next best thing is around the corner? And they have to kind of sift through all this. So I think the recurring theme is workflow. It's like the best companies I've seen that roll out successfully, even with us, it is the CRO working hand in hand with the head of RevOps to understand exactly what they're solving for. Like, what are they automating that today is not feasible prior that an agent can take care of? And if they can figure that out, and maybe it's running a POC that validates that, it's about kind of the users on the ground also confirming it actually did pre and post fix that workflow, you have a very, very high chance of success and it's sticky and everyone's happy. Versus, I think, Max, you might have alluded to this, like if you don't show up and know that your team has a certain workflow that they're not doing and then drop a tool and expect they're just going to do it, like that is not how the world ends up working out. I think
Mm.
people get scared of saying that AI is like not change management. In reality, I think there's a lot of change management involved, but it's leadership down to make it very clear, like your philosophy has to be that everything is going to be, if it can get automated to help you out, it will. That is the change you need to be thinking about top down. And then that is what you have to lean into from the rep, from the manager, from the CRO up to leadership, and ensuring that you identify the workflows where you are forcing that change management, basically. But if you do, like it works out quite well, I think. But if you're not thinking in that way, it'll probably fail.
Gotcha.
One,
Hey,
one
Steve, on your end, like your big enterprise clients, who is the person that you're dealing with most of the time on their side? Who runs this stuff at these big companies?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of what Ratchet and Stav said, so I don't want to repeat too much, but I totally agree. I'm selling to the CRO or the VP of sales engineers and sometimes the VP of RevOps. The key thing I'll add to it, they own it. I agree with that 100%. But they're too busy. They're not vibe coding. They're not putting in these tools.
Right.
They're playing around with it. The guy's like, I vibe coded QuickBooks this weekend. I'm like, awesome, great, good for you. Like, but they're not putting it in. They own it. Totally agree with Ratchet and Staub. They own it. CRO, VP of SEs. There's a go-to-market engineering expert underneath that they've hired or should hire. And these enterprise companies, I'm seeing more and more of that. Now, whether they exist under VP of RevOps or RevOps, they might, but they exist under each department. There's an expert who's trying to figure out what they can build themselves or deploy from, like our software companies, right? What do they deploy? Then it gets into the next conversation of build versus buy. And I've been fighting that for the last, couple of months. Yeah,
Mm.
yes, you could build it. And this is the same conversation's been happening for 30 years. It's just
Yep.
the next iteration of it. It's all it is. And it's like, yep, you can build it, and it's easier to build it now than it was 3, 4 years ago. Should you be building it? Why are you building this tool? Why aren't you building things to help you sell the product you make?
Yep.
Right? And that's not building out an SDR, building out better outreach, it's using our tools to do that while you focus on the ability to manage your company and sell your product. Right. And so,
Yep.
again, long-winded way of saying totally agree,
Huh?
CRO, whoever that VP owns it, but they're going to have people under the covers who are doing that work. And that's who we'll talk to as well.
Gotcha.
Just
Max, what do you
in
think?
one sentence on the
Yeah,
build
please.
versus
Let's talk. Go
buy.
ahead. Yep.
My favorite type of customers are the one that's coming that's saying that they try to build it themselves. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
know already like what does it take,
Yeah.
and yeah. So
Yeah. I love that
Gotcha. No problem.
too. That's a great prospect.
Definitely agree.
Max, who owns this, you think?
So, beginning of the year, I made everyone at my company a manager, and I said, "You're all now managers of your own agent fleet. Congratulations! No training whatsoever. You're now a manager." And my expectation really is that they'll start to build their own ICs that can help serve them in their roles, which call them sub agents or power tools, whatever you want, doesn't matter. So that's in just terms of
Hmm.
empowering people. In terms of who owns this on the go-to-market side, I actually think that the go-to-market roles are going to evolve a little slower than the internal roles in companies, probably because of the fear of messing with stuff that affects the most powerful part of a company, which is its revenue. I love this piece. I think it was by Lenny Rachitsky, that basically talks about how internally we're going to see a merger of engineers, product managers, and designers into one role we call the creator. And I thought that was like a really beautiful way to describe, the merger of what used to be sliced into many different roles, but now we can all do together with one person with AI underneath them. I think we're going to see the same in go-to-market, but it's not obvious what's happening. The word go-to-market engineer seems to be some sort of merger between demand gen, rev op, sometimes SDR manager. It just depends. And what the title is, I don't really care. But I think that there is going to be a consolidation of responsibilities for a human manager of agent responsibilities, and that will then answer your question. But I think we're in the early innings of figuring out what those roles are. So for now, I guess it's just easy to say CRO because that's like the top of the chain. But I think we'll see subspecialties within that.
Equivalent to the creator is the relationshiper. So this is the equivalent for the go-to-market.
That's a nice segue to my next question, which is like all your products sort of represent a different phase of the funnel. And a lot of the product companies you work with are going to be working across all different phases and maybe interact with all your different products conceivably across that funnel. So when's the future going to come where all your products talk to each other? Or are you guys just all creating a bunch of silos? And what are we going to do about that?
That's something. Sorry. Go ahead.
Please, go ahead. Go. There's no right.
Yeah, the tooling for connecting these all of these disparate silos has already come out at least a year ago with MCPs. And it's going to become, we're all used to hearing about APIs. Now we are talking about the world of MCPs, where these tools can talk to each other, and it's a reality today. But when I'm looking at integrating we try to integrate with other MCPs, and we built our own MCP. But when I was looking at it objectively, started realizing that how thoughtfully did we construct the MCP? Is it more about checking a box versus what can I achieve with the MCP? And when we are connecting with, let's say, Gong's MCP versus a Salesforce MCP, it's not the same experience. It's like apples to oranges. But that's going to be a problem that's going to get solved. If you have read about Claude Mesh, for example, they talk about it's going to be the build versus buy question as well. You can build it all in Claude. What's actually happening? Everybody has MCPs. And Claude can understand MCPs and it can interact with multiple things and you can automate your entire workflows. Okay. So MCP strategy of a company is going to be mission critical. Not only the MCPs that we are building, but all MCPs of the tools that we buy. That's going to be the connectivity issue.
Okay. I'd love more thoughts on this. I mean, it seems like it's going to be a big spaghetti junction and there's going to be a point where everything's going to have to connect. And I also see the possibility that all this stuff would just get grabbed up by the big large language models and they'll bundle together some big solution end to end and everyone gets all pushed out. It becomes a difference between a trusted enterprise that can run things safely and can have the litigation power to take if they screw things up, or I'll go with the little guys who are more nimble and make better products and take a risk and try and tie them together. Do we see that convergence coming, or is it going to continue to be this sort of like, single point solution world where we try and link everything together? I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
I think we're all going to be competitors eventually, but maybe different approach. So I think that without being end-to-end system that compounds from learning full loop, closed loop, it will be very hard to deliver true outcome in ROI. And it's more about it's like more about kind of full service. That the differentiation between company will be more like in the go-to-market space will be more what is the type of customers that they are serving, what is the industry, what is the vertical, or that it's going to be infra. So it's infra service as a infrastructure that go-to-market engineer will build with it something. So this is where I think it's going. It depends. I don't know how much time is it going to take. It might be like an end of 2026, or it might be closer than that or a bit more far, but this is where I think it's going.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll just say like the history of Silicon Valley always ends up playing the same movie. I don't care what bubble it is, the dot-com bubble, the SaaS bubble, now we're in the AI bubble. It always starts off like this. There's great point solutions, there's silos of data, and then they consolidate, and whoever builds the platform wins. There'll be multiple platforms, but that's how it ends up happening. So if you can win your silo and show you're the best point solution, you'll be part of the winning platform. If not, you'll probably be left behind. I mean, I've just seen it every single time. And there's a reason for it. People don't like to integrate, even though integrating is easier now, whether it's MCP or OpenClaw, whatever people are using, from yesterday, changed yesterday. MCP is dead yesterday. Now it's OpenClaw. At the end of the day, customers want ease. They often want one throat to choke, and it ends up going in that direction after a year or two. And I think, Warren, what you'll see a year from now, I believe in agent swarms. I do think it's going to happen. It's not reality today, but who wouldn't want your agents learning from each other and talking to each other? And then eventually you're in your silo, those agents talk to the other silos, and oh, lo and behold, we have a platform instead of all these just siloed feature offerings. So.
I think there's one difference, Steve, on the movie that's coming out right now. It's not done yet.
Yeah.
So I would say, going by history, it's going to be the Microsofts and Oracles, and these are the companies, Google's, they're going to win. But with what's happening with Microsoft's Copilot success or lack thereof, or Agent Force that's been around for a long, long time, and moves that the likes of Anthropic is making right now of late. And these companies are like they're not they're valued already in hundreds of billions of dollars. So probably in this movie, the difference probably is going to be, could an Anthropic emerge as the single solution that integrates it all, as opposed to the usual suspects like a Microsoft? I don't know the
Or
answer to
they're
it,
going
but
to be
my bet
kind of
would
the new
go ahead.
browser, the concept, I think Sam Altman said it, like liquidity product, that it's like before there was browser, like the first form of products in the dot-com bubble was like extensions for browsers, right? Like this a lot of like pinned links. And then like there was like web application. So it's also like a chance that Claude is changing the interface of like co-work, is going to have like like liquid product lives inside of it. And I think that there is a lot of like question about, was it everything is going to be skills, or like is going to be UI exist in the word, right? Like, and this is also a question that always comes back, but I think that terminal like UI is needed, and it's also like going to be part of the future, but just in a different form, more in the kind of a maybe design system form. Or so I think that the product will just change their forms to a form we don't really know yet. I think Google Disco have a great video on that, that they're showing like their vision of how products in the future are going to be. So yes,
Okay.
maybe the form we don't know yet.
And Max, what do you think? Are we gonna all be linked together, or is it gonna get all globbed up by the big three or whatever they're called today? I don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine, man. I think the I mean, we spend a lot of time thinking about the future of the website, and I think that we have historically had humans navigate a browser to go look at the front door of different businesses to evaluate things. And I think in a full agent-to-agent world of evaluation, you may not need the like traditional B2B SaaS marketing splash page anymore. And so what's going to be important is, as any business, basically having a ability to take all your information, put your best foot forward, and then let that be crawled by both humans and agents in a way that's valuable and accessible. Um, so I think the answer is probably it will go to, or if I had to take a bet, I'll put it on Anthropic.
Okay, got it. Well, so far, I guess that seems to make sense. We'll see, right? So I'm curious, how many of you are currently running AI agents in production right now? All of you, okay. I would imagine. So, can you define what those agents actually do in one sentence?
I think it depends if you're calling your agent a replacement for an employee or a title, right? Like we have an AI SDR, but like, what does that really mean? Or if your agents are tools that are used by humans at a sub agent level. So I guess to do it in a single sentence, and we have many in production, but uh, our AI SDR agent mimics the actions that a SDR takes across the channels they use to engage prospects to try to hit quota every month.
Okay, nice job. Anybody else?
Weekly pipeline reviews are automated by looking at what deals are in play, extract what happened, what's the current deal health assessment, where we have the conversations move to more qualitative conversations as opposed to subjective conversations. Weekly pipeline reviews, that's just one of the many.
Okay,
Maybe
that's
I'll
it.
take
Yeah, go
one.
ahead, Raj.
Yeah,
What,
Rachid, go ahead.
Yeah, and this is more for like how we're using it or what we're building. Curious which framing.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm
Well,
using
I
it
mean,
today. What does it do in one sentence?
sure. I mean, I think we'd all be terrible CEOs if we didn't use our own products. So we automate our own deal reviews. Like you just wake up to exactly who you talk to, who you're missing, how you get there. We shouldn't have to think about any time I know if my team's in the right rooms or not. We
Hmm.
we aren't pulling up spreadsheets. We're not looking at docs. It should be something that's thinking for you to answer that question. So at least as it
Gotcha.
relates to any one-on-one deal review team selling, we just wake up to the answer because the agent's already figured it out under the hood.
Gotcha. Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I can steal Ratchet's thunder and just do in my own product. Obviously, we're using it. It's like so, we've got our whole host of prospects. They're all doing proof of concepts on our proof of concept software, right? So we use agents to help automate that. Internally, outreach intelligence. Like all again, I'm so focused on mundane tasks, right? So the old days of I'm going to go into LinkedIn and I'm going to look at the account and I'm going to find the people and build an org chart. There's no reason to do that anymore. So have the agents do that, save all that time, and now we're doing proper outreach that much faster.
Great. If your AI agent you can give it one new capability that it doesn't have today, what would it be?
I think that's something that wasn't accessible before, but now is accessible is the ability to create good SQLs, query data. So it's just like past few weeks, the Claude had a great breakthrough on that. So it's a
Okay.
capability that just revealed of
Hmm?
creating SQLs that actually amazing.
Okay.
Hmm.
I think if agents can actually, to the definition of memory, actually have memory at the scale of everything that's happened till date and actually compare across what is similar to what you're working on right now and infer
Hmm.
that type of reasoning to almost like the brain that's actually doing pattern matching for you and telling you where to go next. But
Yeah.
generally that's
I
evolving over time. That
That's a
that is an
major
area.
issue. The
Yeah.
context window is a major issue.
Yeah. If we can solve
Um,
that problem, these things become like insanely
yeah,
powerful.
it'll be solved. They're going to compound that. I've seen something came out a couple weeks ago that solves this in a really weird way, but I agree. It's a mess. We got a question from the audience. I want to make sure we get to it, which is would you draw a line between an agent that essentially is a microservice, like a task automation, versus a macro digital employee that replaces a human? Like, what's the line you draw between those two things agentically?
I probably have an unpopular opinion here that I don't think that this line is interesting. I think that if a tool using like uh, LLM or not, or if it's like an automation or an undeterministic way to build it, it's not the interesting part. The interesting part is what is the outcome. But I let anyone else to answer to answer the question.
yeah, I
Okay.
think
What do you think?
well
Go ahead,
for
Max.
all time, like a anything automated was a microservice because you automate like one task, and then anything that like is human based is undeterministic because I choose when I do work. I choose if I want to use this tool or that tool, and I have my own kind of decision tree in my head. And so it's just in the last 5 months, you are starting to get into a world where you have an agent that can command a bunch of microservices or sub agents, if you want to call them, that can replace or automate and be undeterministic in how it decides what it does. And so it's sort of just a new concept I think we're wrestling with. I just see it more as like a marketing play, honestly, which is like, are you selling a product or are you selling a digital employee? Like digital employee, people are, well, vendors are trying to go that way because you can charge more for it. Because if a salary is whatever, like 100K a year, then like to be able to sell 100K a year software is actually pretty hard. You have to build something pretty great. So if you like are selling, oh, well, you're hiring for a whatever, you can just hire this thing instead. It's more of a marketing play than it is like a technical concept.
Gotcha. Great. Any other answer to that question? I mean, I think that Steve, what you said in the beginning was really good. I think it's something about it. You leave it alone and it does stuff on its own with some rules. It's sort of like you deploy it and you walk away. I tend to agree that's an agent for me. It's out there working on it on my behalf within certain framework and certain guardrails. Whereas in task automation, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I was asked, but I make a distinction between an agent and an automation. They're not the same in some respects. I sort of think of it as something that is out there figuring something out, in a way. Um, well, this was great. Any other follow-up questions that anybody has, you can put them in the chat, but we have about 3 minutes left before this great panel is over. I think at the end, what we really come down to, the follow-up here is agents are much more defined now, I think, than they used to be. I think we're getting closer to knowing what it is. I would say right now, incentives seem to win. The CRO or the revenue leader owns this right now because they're incentivized to. They're the ones who want to get the outcomes. But I think, frankly, it'll probably end up with IT or something because there's going to be security issues and other stuff like that that ultimately is going to take over. I think that right now it is an incentive-based ownership. And I think the CRO probably is the one who really should be thinking about this stuff most. And in terms of a risk, I completely get it. It's about making sure you have the right relationship with your clients and they know that you're sort of experimenting with them. You have to have a really different kind of relationship with them. You're kind of playing, chess with them in a way. We have a question. If you have multiple teams building, how do you make certain you don't end up with multiple agents burning credits trying to do the same thing? And what happens when the guardrails change frequently? Can agents still be effective? So I think the first one is interesting. How do you end up with multiple agents burning credits trying to do the same thing?
Yeah, talk to any enterprise, they have that
Yeah.
problem. So it's great question. They all have that problem right now. So whoever invents the guardrails software to make sure everyone can't build their own stuff, build burning tokens, yeah, solve that problem. You'll be pretty rich pretty soon. But
That's good.
every enterprise company we talk to, every department's vibe coding, they're doing this stuff, and half of them are creating the same things, same tools.
Great.
I'd be happy to have that problem
Yeah.
in an organization. If they're building it for the right reason, at least we have the
Pretty good.
basics ready. We are an AI native company already. Now it's more about alignment.
Mhm.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, I encourage, like, if it's two people in the company coming and say they want to solve the same issue but they have different perspective on it, I would say go for it, both of you, and collaborate in the future if it's connected, and mostly the outcomes and the if someone is really owns it and owns the goal and the outcome, so the ROI is much more many times from the credits it's spent. So it's a great problem to have, in my opinion.
Got it. All right. Well, I think we're at time. I'm assuming that we are. I know it. We had an hour. It's at 1 o'clock. So, hey, Julia.
Hey, we're an amazing panel. Thank you again. And before we wrap this up, can we do it just a minute of shameless plugs? All of you? Let's start with you,
Sure.
Warren. How can our
Sure.
community support you?
Thank you. Yeah. So, with the CRO Collective, we focus specifically on chief revenue officers and their success. We help them develop their skills, and we've defined the role, I think, most sharply. And we also build CRO-ready organizations. These are companies that are looking for a CRO or are actually in the process of deploying one, and make sure they're ready for one so that the CRO gets the full potential of the role. And thanks for having me, Julia.
Awesome. Always a pleasure. Let's just do a quick one. Max, how about yourself?
If you want warm leads, come to warmly.ai.
Rashid?
If you're trying to multi-thread, break into enterprise accounts, and make sure you're in the right rooms, we are the place where you map all that out automatically.
Staff?
You want to transform your go-to-market and boost it with AI, so altahq.com.
Steve?
If your company is running proof of concepts to sell your product, come talk to us.
Sridhar?
If you want your reps to run their deals effectively and get to that close line faster, come to GTM, buddy.
All of this. Amazing.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
everybody. Thank you.